Bonjour à tous. Buongiorno, buenos dias, guten Morgen. Hello, everybody. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to moderate this debate. It's an important issue. It's our first panel, A Europe That Progress. It's the first chapter, actually, of our manifesto. And I'm extremely happy to have here around the table a first panel of leaders of our partner organization, and each of these organizations has really contributed to the manifesto. And I'm glad to present Hannes Swoboda, the leader of the S&D group in the European Parliament. Thank you, Hannes. I'm very glad to welcome here one of the co-hosts of the Congress, the leader of PSI, Mr. Nencini, and to congratulate him also because since yesterday you are Deputy Minister of Infrastructure. Congratulations. Zita Gurmai, the President of PES Women, strong woman and excellent campaigner, also candidate for the European election. Good luck, Zita. We will all be with you, supporting you. Then we have Mr. Karl-Heinz Lamberts, the President of the Committee of Region PES Group, also candidate, but for the regional election in Belgium, so all the best also, Karl-Heinz. We know it will be a tough election. We have Kajsa Penny, the President of YES, the Young European Socialists, also a candidate for the European election, so good luck also, Kajsa. We hope that we'll be part of this young people, part of the S&D group. And then, last but not least, Mr. Massimo D'Alema, the President of FEPS, the foundation of the PES, former Prime Minister of Italy. And again, on behalf of the PES, thanks to you all for your contribution to the manifesto. So this first chapter, A Union That Progress, is dedicated to one key topic at the heart of all European citizens: its growth, its jobs, and its employment. In one word, is how we, as social democrats, as European progressive, we have a vision for sustainable growth. So I would start immediately talking about our fight, to give the floor to Hannes Swoboda. Hannes, if you could tell us how it was in the last 5 years in the European Parliament, this fight that you were leading vis-à-vis conservative, especially regarding overcoming the economic and financial crisis. What were the difference and the big fights of the S&D group in the European Parliament? Hannes, first floor to you.
Buongiorno. Good morning, everybody. Well, if I would really go into detail, I would need hours, but we don't have so much time to see the difference between the conservatives and us. But let me be very frank. The economic and financial crisis, what was the basic reason? The basic reason was a strong liberalization of the markets. That is what happened. And that was, of course, in connection with many money flowing around, not going into investment, in real investment, but going into speculation. Can you imagine, for example, we made a study, 1 trillion, that means 1,000 billion of euro every year is not going to be into the taxes, to the coffers of the finance ministers, but in tax evasion. So the first element is we have to fight tax evasion. It is not acceptable that the money is going not into creating jobs, but into banks or into other financial institutions. Very often connected with corruption, by the way. This is something we have to fight. Secondly, what is the big difference? We wanted and we give a clear framework to the economy. For us, the economy is something where the state also has to play a role, together with the market. It's not market only, it's also public responsibility. Therefore, many of the laws we did was in that connection. But let me be very clear. It was a fight with the conservatives because they didn't want to do it. All the small things we did on regulation of the financial markets was initiated by us. And there was so much opposition. To tell you one small example, if you look, for example, on the boni, the bankers want to have all the time. They make a big fuss, they make big problems, they create a lot of unemployment, and then they want to get boni for that. This is also not acceptable, and we have to fight against it. And we have also to fight that instead of regulation, instead of laws, they want to circumvent that and again want to get a lot of boni for nothing. And that, of course, cannot be accepted. Third, employment. If you look at the employment situation, it is not acceptable. We have high unemployment, especially for the younger generation. Can you imagine that more than 60% in Greece, for example, of young people are unemployed? So it was us who proposed the youth guarantee. Here, some prime ministers already implemented it at home. And now it is up to take the money for the youth guarantee to fight the youth unemployment. Because again, if we as Socialists and Democrats cannot beat youth unemployment, we wouldn't deserve the election win. But we will do it, and we will fight youth unemployment to go down. And together with the whole situation of the economic is, of course, the social situation. Only some very few figures. In Greece, infant mortality was rising by 43%. 30% of our young people, of our children, risk poverty. 30% in rich Europe of today. And yes, we have to invest. This is very important that public and private investment create new jobs. This is also contested by the Conservatives. But 20 countries, 20 member countries out of 28 have today less expenditure on education in relation to the economic potentiality than 2 or 3 years ago. Also, this we have to fight. Let me have a last remark. There are many differences between us and the Conservatives. And I know there are some government, there are coalition government, and they are a bit hesitant with some of our programs. It's easier and has been easier for the group in European Parliament to have a clear position. But now we have a campaign. We don't discuss coalitions. We have a campaign of socialists against the others, of socialists and Democrats against the others. So please, comrades, let's have the fighting spirit now, not a coalition spirit. Don't talk about coalition on European or national level. We are the Socialists and Democrats, and we will fight this election with a strong spirit, with a strong program, which is totally different from the Conservative program and the nationalistic program. Only if we fight for our ideas, we can win. And I'm sure we will win because we will fight. Thank you. Grazie.
Thank you, Hannes. Thank you for the fighting spirit that you are demonstrating today, but also every day in the European Parliament and all the fights that you have been leading in the European Parliament. I will move now to Zita. Zita, our leader of the PES Women. Zita, you are often mentioning how women are affected by the crisis for different reasons. So can you tell us what PES Women is doing and proposing exactly in order to help and to propose solutions for women all over Europe?
First of all, I just would like to say how delighted I am. And actually, Matteo Renzi knew how to reply to the crisis. Parity government. And this is a privilege that Federica is the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So this is the policy that you can make changes. So this is what PES Women is recommending, how to get more women, how to get parity Congress, which is really a historical opportunity. And of course, it is extremely important. You could feel on your own skin. Women were badly affected this crisis. Of course, we were badly affected on employment, on wages, on reconciliation policies, and of course, on funding. And of course, my great boss, Hannes, spoke about youth unemployment. The way that the current Commission dealt with youth unemployment, it is unacceptable. These young people need a job today and not tomorrow. Instead of giving 200 billion for saving banks, we have only 8 billion to save the next generation. It's a shame on the Barroso Commission. It's a shame. And of course, 2009, we already had a program. We already had a manifesto. We had a chapter which dealt with gender equality. And you know, within this chapter, we had a women's rights charter. You know what Barroso did first time? He stole it. He said, let's have this charter. But the problem is that Reding took it. It became a women's charter. Rights is out. Okay, they created a communication and they said the gender pay gap is important. We are going to close them within 5 years. Unrealistic. I'm so proud that Martin Schulz, our presidential candidate, understood. that we need to have a campaign on the gender pay gap, because poverty has still a woman face. We really need to do it. We have a policy for that. And of course, we are realistic, because we say 2% per year, because that is the way that we can do that. So we have a policy for that. And of course, it is extremely important to deal with the proper funding. It is extremely important to understand the reconciliation of the family and the work, because we need young fathers to stay at home with the children as well. We need to keep women on the labor market. We need to offer proper salaries. We need proper salaries for women and men. And of course, we need to take care of the young generation, young women and young men. And of course, the next question, how we do the campaign, I will talk later.
Thank you, Zita. Thank you for keeping up with this good fighting spirit that you always have. And that's the mood of today. So we have been talking already, Hannes and then Zita, about youth in employment. I think that now is the time to turn to the president of YES, the Young European Socialists, Kaiser. So you have been part of this big fight about the youth guarantee. Can you tell us what is your proposals and what you suggest now as a solution for young people, so that every young people in Europe will have a job, will have a training, will have an education, will have a future? So Kaiser.
Thank you. In 2009, so 5 years ago, here in Rome, we started a campaign, Young European Socialists, for European-wide youth guarantee. We had a summit here when not many people still thought that youth unemployment is a huge crisis. We thought that it's a part of the crisis and it will blow over. But we thought that this is something that is not so easy to solve, that it's really threatening our generation of young people and their futures. It is taking a hope away from the young people, hope of better future, hope of having a chance in a life. And we started a campaign on youth guarantee. We were very lucky and happy to have PES women and PES to support us. We also have had support from all the party political youth organizations and European Youth Forum to talk about youth future, the future that guarantees every young person a right to participate in our society. Today we are almost there. The Council has adopted the recommendation on youth guarantee, saying that every young person really should have a place in our societies. But what is lacking and what is the huge problem still is the resources. We have the Council giving 6 billion euros over 7 years, so it's less than 1 billion a year for solving a problem which sees 11.5 million young Europeans, 11.5 million under 30-year-olds out of work or education today. So what we really need is a really, really radical shift in the European policy, in European economic policy, which puts the growth and the employment, jobs, the future of all Europeans, but especially the young people, at the forefront of Europe. And today we are in a point where we really have the facts to show that the current policies have failed. And we really need to prove and show and win the debate on that we really need this change. We need to balance the economic policy in Europe with the social dimension of European Union. We need to bring the social aspects and the importance of employment back in the middle of the agenda, but we also need to find resources for it. And for that, I'm extremely happy that we have in the PES manifesto now a discussion about the mutualization of rights and responsibilities in Europe, that we can have investment for young people where they need it, regardless of where they're from. Because as Federica said it earlier, we need to acknowledge that we are all in this together. My home country, Finland, cannot succeed unless the young people and everyone, every citizen in Europe, regardless of whether you live in Greece, in Spain, in Ireland, in Germany, succeeds as well. So I think it is a time for us to really emphasize that this is what we are here for. This is what we are campaigning for. For 5 years, we've been working to get the European Youth Guarantee a reality, and I think we're very close. I hope we see it within the next 5 years.
For sure. Thank you, Kaiser. We will fight together. You were already talking in your speech about the model that we have to present and to introduce, so I would directly give the floor to the president of the FEPS, Massimo D'Alema. If you could tell us about this, how do you see the future of work, democracy and employment in Europe? What model we as Social Democrats would propose? So, Massimo.
Well, it's a big question. To answer this question, I wrote a book, and if you allow some publicity, The book is available at FEP's stand, Italiani Europei, but I want to answer in just a few words such a challenging question. And first of all, let me underline that never before the future of Europe was to such an extent in the hands of the European citizens. It is a hard fact that there is a crisis of confidence by our fellow citizens in the European project. And we would make a terrible mistake if we were to underestimate the grounds of this sharp decline of confidence. Europe appears to be lacking democracy and transparency. A populism is the other side of this coin. We cannot understand the spreading populism without considering the trend toward technocracy, which is in act in Brussels. Social inequalities have enormously grown this year, which means also that the European social model has become weaker, and that many Europeans, particularly from Southern Europe, are unemployed. Therefore, comrades, friends, our message has to be clear. We must say to our fellow citizens, you are right. When you protest against the current European Union, you are right. And we want to change. We want to change politics. We want to change policies. First of all, we want a Europe closer to the citizens, which means a Europe no longer dominated by national governments, which means by stronger national governments, which raises a problem of legitimacy of the European decisions. We want a stronger parliament. We want a stronger Commission. That's why it's so important to have candidates by the political parties, because the message is clear. The Commission is not technocracy, it's a political body depending on the decision of the citizens. And secondly, we must leave behind the politics of austerity. The formula austerity plus structural reforms does not work. We are in favor of both financial rigor and reforms, but we also know that it is essential to invest in the future of Europe, above all in innovation, research, education, and support to small and medium enterprises. Without a large investment program by the EU and the individual member states, there cannot be growth. Moreover, we shall shift the tax burden from labor to finance with the aim of reducing inequalities and stimulating consumption. This is, in my view, the political turn for which we shall ask European citizens' consensus. And our message, very clear, is that we are not in campaign to defend Europe as it is now. We are fighting to change Europe. This is the message, and I think with that message we can win.
For sure we will win. Thank you, Massimo. And I'm turning to Mr. Nencini, the new minister. And also I would like then to ask you about this change, the change that we would propose in terms of progressive economic models, and what would be the role of research, technological development in order to create new jobs. So, Mr. Nencini, the floor is yours.
Grazie, benvenuti in Italia, benvenuti a Roma. Io ho ascoltato con attenzione alcune ricette, ma soprattutto una serie di provvedimenti che i nostri compagni al Parlamento europeo hanno già assunto. Mi soffermo volentieri nei miei 2 minuti e mezzo invece sulle cause. La mia opinione è che il movimento populista e demagogico che in Europa sta crescendo prepotentemente sia un fenomeno durevole, non passeggero. Ed è durevole perché ci sono 2 fattori che hanno caratteristiche di stabilità, e sono la paura ed una povertà crescente. La paura è figlia di 2 grandissimi fattori che sono nuovi in Europa: la perdita dei poteri degli Stati nazionali e la crisi dello Stato sociale. Aggiungerei anche il rapporto tra libertà e migranti, che comincia a essere prepotentemente presente in molte politiche nazionali. L'altra grande novità è la povertà di ritorno. La povertà di ritorno non è la povertà, è il ceto medio che è diventato tale e che precipita in una condizione di bisogno. Chi è stato ricco o benestante e precipita in una condizione di difficoltà economica assume degli atteggiamenti che sono atteggiamenti reazionari e conservatori. Diventa cattivo nella sua reazione a ciò che ritiene essere una colpa della società. Se questa condizione è stabile, noi bisogna dare una risposta eretica, come i socialisti pionieri della fine dell'Ottocento e del primo Novecento, che cercavano risposte diverse, perché l'Europa è cambiata e chi parla di un'altra Europa ha ragione a parlare usando termini che abbiano queste caratteristiche. Questo significa soprattutto prendere una doppia strada. Lo sottolineo questo aspetto, il fatto che con le banche, diceva Zita, noi siamo stati socialisti con i banchieri e liberal reazionari con i cittadini, è un fatto che comincia a essere presente nel cuore dei cittadini europei. La reazione che hanno è figlia non soltanto di un generico sentito dire, ma è figlia di una perdita di peso del portafoglio delle famiglie europee e dei valori che sono alla base di una storia che è stata una storia comune. Io penso che le risposte debbano essere trovate lavorando su 2 filiere, ed è per questo che abbiamo scelto un candidato decisamente con le spalle larghe come Martin Schulz. La prima riguarda l'armonizzazione delle politiche fiscali ed economiche. O noi pensiamo a costruire una cornice condivisa all'interno della quale le politiche economiche degli Stati, soprattutto di quelli verso i quali noi abbiamo una responsabilità diretta, perché noi abbiamo primi ministri in 1/3 dei paesi europei e abbiamo una presenza nei governi europei nei 2/3 dei paesi che aderiscono all'Unione. Quindi abbiamo una responsabilità diretta, noi siamo responsabili di quello che avviene in Europa e la responsabilità a fronte di un prepotente cambiamento deve essere collegata ad una politica eretica. L'eresia deve avvenire in politica estera. E concludo. Troppe crisi esplodono nel cuore dell'Europa per le quali non abbiamo strumenti, argomenti o risposta. Li cito rapidamente. Cecenia, prima della Cecenia la ex Jugoslavia, poi in ordine terribilmente continuo i fatti dell'Ucraina, molte dei paesi, delle nazioni che sono figlie dell'ex impero sovietico, che sono lì sul punto di aprirsi in delle faglie terribili. Domando, l'unico organismo internazionale che è deputato a intervenire in questa direzione sono le Nazioni Unite. Le Nazioni Unite però nacquero e furono concepite per dirimere i contrasti fra gli Stati, non all'interno di uno Stato. E ormai le guerre avvengono sotto forma di guerre civili dentro gli Stati. quello che Milan Kundera riteneva essere un fenomeno superato, la guerra antropologicamente impossibile, perché la lotta tra Francia e Germania era superata, è diventata una lotta dentro gli Stati. E noi dobbiamo affidare alla nostra storia socialista e socialdemocratica europea uno strumento per rispondere a questa storia nuova. Se riusciamo a combinare questi due fattori, allora ha un senso sostenere la tesi che siamo ancora quelli che hanno risposte vere per un'Europa decisamente migliore e diversa.
Merci beaucoup Ricardo et je profite là donc pour maintenant aborder la question des autorités locales. On sait que les autorités locales ont été durement touchées par la crise, donc je me tourne vers Karl-Heinz justement pour voir quel est le rôle que peuvent jouer les autorités locales dans la campagne évidemment, mais aussi pour créer de la croissance en Europe et donner de l'emploi aux Européens. La parole est à toi Karl-Heinz.
Quand quelqu'un a perdu son emploi, quand il cherche un logement, quand il ne sait pas comment nouer les deux bouts à la fin du mois, il va rarement voir le président de l'Union européenne ou le Premier ministre de son pays. Il s'adresse à son maire et à ses élus locaux. Et si nous voulons vraiment impulser un nouveau souffle pour une Europe nouvelle, nous devons en tout premier lieu reconvaincre la population au niveau local de comprendre pourquoi il est important de s'engager en Europe pour une autre Europe. Et si les communes et les collectivités territoriales peuvent faire leur quote-part, il faut aussi que l'Europe leur permette. Et il y a deux problèmes pour le moment qui me paraissent fondamentaux. D'abord, les communes et les régions sont les champions des services d'intérêt général. Partout en Europe, il y a eu des grands succès avec des services d'intérêt généraux et ce sont souvent les socialistes et les sociodémocrates qui ont pu les mettre en œuvre. Depuis très longtemps déjà, l'Europe est plutôt un frein qu'un élément d'impulsion et il faut absolument rétablir l'équilibre entre la concurrence et le marché et d'autre part le rôle et la fonction et les possibilités d'action des services d'intérêt généraux. Et un deuxième problème est encore plus grave. Il faut remettre de l'ordre dans les finances publiques. Il faut faire des économies. Mais actuellement, nous sommes entrés dans un système en Europe où nous tuons durablement la capacité d'investissement des collectivités territoriales. Et si nous ne changeons rien à cela, on reconnaîtra demain, partout en Europe, les écoles au fait que sont les bâtiments les plus délabrés de toute la ville. Il faut absolument retrouver un moyen pour que les collectivités territoriales puissent continuer à investir. Et pour le moment, avec le mécanisme qu'on a mis, notamment avec les traités fiscales, ça devient de plus en plus difficile. Et là, il y a des choses à changer et je crois que nous devrions être les champions, le fer de lance de ces changements.
Merci beaucoup Karl-Heinz. Effectivement, la question de la qualité des services publics, l'accessibilité des services publics est vraiment une des questions essentielles pour nous, sociodémocrates. Tu as mentionné aussi la question des écoles et des jeunes, donc je vais me tourner vers Kaise par rapport aux jeunes européens. Kaise, you are president of YES, the Young European Socialists. So could you tell us in what way we as PES, as a family, we will give a message and solution so that every young people got a future and they will understand that voting in May is really important to change their future?
I think the most important message that we can give is that if the Social Democrats and Socialists, the Labour, the progressives in Europe win in this election, what the young people will have is hope. Hope of better future, hope of a chance of a fair participation, fair future for the life. Not the message that the Conservatives are giving, which is that this is it. This is how it is going to be. We have austerity, continued misery for the years to come, the decades to come. It's not getting any better, but it's possibly not getting worse. What we want to offer is hope and trust that there will be a change, that there is an alternative and there is a hope for a better future. No one pretends, no one claims that it will be easy or it will happen overnight, that if you elect us on the 25th of May, 26th of May, you will have a different Europe. This is not what will happen. But we have made commitments to ensuring that we will change the discourse of Europe, that we will change the direction of Europe, that we will actually put the people back in the middle of Europe, put the citizens, the young people, the old people, everyone, people with families, children in the middle of it. We will create services, we will create investment that will actually benefit the individuals, the people, the societies as a whole, not the financial markets or the markets as a larger. What is important is that we say that we will balance the different sides of European Union. We will balance the social dimension with the economic dimension. We will make the economic dimension serve the people and the welfare of our citizens. And this is the message that we have to send, that there is hope of a better future, and you get it by voting for an alternative, voting for a change in Europe.
Thank you, Kajsa. That's what you are saying, and totally right, of course, is to changing the priority of Europe and to bringing the different dimensions together. So, talking about bringing the different dimensions together, I will turn to Mr. Nencini, Riccardo, and how can we combine this concern about social and economic and ecological development in this new Europe?
Intanto bisogna offrire una dimensione unitaria a partire dalle prossime elezioni europee. Noi abbiamo due fronti che dovranno essere politicamente coperti. Ci sarà il solito conflitto politico con il Partito Popolare, che è forte in Europa, ma a questo si affianca stabilmente, e sarà un risultato sorprendente, il voto che avranno quella ventina di partiti populisti di destra e quant'altro che troveranno diritto di cittadinanza nel prossimo Parlamento europeo. La cosa da fare è sostenere la candidatura di Martin Schulz, provando intanto nei singoli paesi a trovare forme di proposta politica che siano le più coese per chi risponde e si richiama alla storia del socialismo democratico europeo e in particolare al PSE, e che mettano assieme il massimo profitto e la minima dispersione. L'Italia è stata il primo paese, il Parlamento italiano è stato il primo Parlamento di uno dei Parlamenti dei paesi dell'Unione Europea che ha approvato una mozione figlia della raccomandazione della Commissione Europea che invita i singoli parlamenti a dire ai cittadini: questo partito chi sostiene come candidato alla presidenza della Commissione Europea e qual è la casa presso la quale saremo allocati una volta eletti nel Parlamento Europeo. Noi abbiamo una risposta chiara, noi sosteniamo Martin Schulz e stiamo nel PSE, i nostri eletti staranno nel PSE, ma se questa azione da oggi viene condivisa in Italia e c'è la presenza in Italia e l'ingresso del PD nel partito del socialismo europeo, noi bisogna rivolgere un invito a chi condivide questa storia a presentare simboli, candidature e proposte politiche condivise. Non possiamo saltare la fase delle elezioni europee. Il rischio di una dispersione di consensi è troppo alto, il rischio di presentare troppe proposte affievolisce il vantaggio di avere una forte candidatura. Questa è la strada maestra da percorrere.
Merci beaucoup, Riccardo. Et je me tourne vers Karl-Heinz, revenant encore par rapport à ces propositions et par rapport aux différentes régions d'Europe. Et nous savons qu'il y a certaines régions qui vivent des moments difficiles, qui ont été plus touchées que d'autres par la crise. Donc, Karl-Heinz, que pouvons-nous nous faire en tant que socialistes par rapport aux régions qui vivent des moments difficiles et qui sont en difficulté économique?
Moi, je crois que nous devons donner un vrai sens à la politique de cohésion territoriale. C'est au niveau des territoires que finalement la réussite se décide. Et l'Europe fait des efforts, peu d'efforts, 1% du PIB européen consacré au budget européen. C'est d'une certaine façon ridicule, mais nous savons que c'est difficile d'en faire plus. Mais avec cet argent que nous avons, nous devons essayer vraiment de donner un appui très puissant aux activités qui se font dans les différentes régions et certainement dans celles qui ont le plus de difficultés pour sortir de la crise. Et là, la cohésion territoriale, c'est une notion un peu difficile à saisir, mais c'est finalement celle qui décide de la réussite. Si toutes les démarches dans un territoire déterminé sont cohérentes et en synergie, alors la réussite peut venir. Il faut travailler à la fois au niveau de l'enseignement, au niveau de la qualité de vie, au niveau de l'accompagnement de jeunes ou des personnes plus âgées qui veulent créer une entreprise. Tout ça doit être vraiment bien ancré chaque fois sur place si on veut avoir une réussite. Et là, je crois que nous avons aussi un puissant élément dans nos mains pour aller de l'avant, et c'est la crédibilité de notre parti qui est aussi un peu dépendant de ce que nous faisons là avec engagement et avec impulsion.
Merci beaucoup, Karl-Heinz, tout à fait. Nous allons évidemment être vigilants, attentifs, actifs, présents sur le terrain et aussi en soutenant toutes les autorités locales au niveau des municipalités, mais aussi au niveau des régions. Et je vais donner la parole maintenant à Massimo, le président de la FEPS, donc justement par rapport à cette nouvelle pensée économique que nous développons et que la FEPS est en train de développer pour proposer un nouveau modèle de développement à l'Europe. Massimo, la parole est à toi. Je sais que tu as écrit un livre, le livre est accessible, mais c'est encore mieux quand tu l'expliques ici à tout le monde. La parole est à toi.
Oui, merci. Je reprends en français. Je pense qu'il faut équilibrer. Mais je pense en effet que pendant une trentaine d'années, on a vécu sous l'hégémonie de la pensée néolibérale. Même quand nous étions au gouvernement. Et il faut dire que Martin, il a écrit clairement dans son livre, avec une pensée autocritique que je partage totalement. L'idée qu'on n'avait plus besoin de l'État, que la politique n'avait autre tâche que faire que ce que l'économie avait déjà décidé. Et cette vague néolibérale a sans doute affaibli le pilier du projet européen. Parce que le pilier du projet européen, c'était l'économie sociale de marché, qui c'est un peu le point de convergence entre la tradition socialiste, d'un côté, et de l'autre côté, la pensée chrétienne, solidaire. Les deux grands mouvements culturels qui ont contribué à projeter, à construire l'Europe. Et je pense qu'il y a un combat culturel à mener. Il ne suffit pas de gagner à niveau politique. Et laissez-moi dire que c'est un paradoxe, et c'est un paradoxe un peu honteux pour nous, que la première réponse à l'hégémonie néolibérale ne soit pas venue de l'Europe, mais des États-Unis. Parce que si je pense à ce que Joseph Stiglitz ou Paul Krugman ont écrit, le message plus fort contre la pensée néolibérale est venu des États-Unis. Et nous avons beaucoup travaillé, nous la FEPS, avec les Américains, avec Stiglitz, pour encourager aussi en Europe une nouvelle pensée économique. Il y a déjà une élaboration très riche. Il y a une chercheuse italienne qui travaille maintenant, je pense, aux États-Unis, c'est en Angleterre, Mariana Mazzucato. Elle a écrit un livre formidable sur l'État entrepreneur. On a redécouvert la nécessité de la politique, des règles, surtout en matière de finances. C'est la crise qui nous a poussés à changer. Et je dois dire avec un certain orgueil que la FEPS a beaucoup travaillé en cette direction. aussi avec des recherches concrètes. On a montré, avec un travail qu'on a fait avec l'université de Leeds, qu'il est possible de rejoindre les mêmes résultats en matière de réduction de dettes. Il nous faut 2-3 ans plus, mais avec 9 millions de postes de travail en plus par rapport au projet de la droite et de la Commission. Alors, ça veut dire qu'il y a une nouvelle pensée, qu'il y a des idées concrètes, qu'il y a des propositions, et maintenant, ça c'est notre travail de fournir des idées. Maintenant, c'est à Martin, c'est à la politique d'utiliser les idées et de les transformer dans un projet politique gagnant pour la transformation de l'Europe. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Massimo. Nous arrivons à la fin de ce panel et je vais demander donc à Hannes Swoboda, le leader du SND Group au Parlement européen, donc de participer à la conclusion. En 1 minute, je sais qu'il a l'habitude d'être bref au Parlement, justement sur la question de l'emploi. Il y a 27 millions de chômeurs en Europe. Hannes, quelles sont nos solutions, quelles sont nos propositions pour eux?
Colleagues, many things have been said, so let me be very brief. Of course, we need public investment. Many people speak about the Marshall Plan for Ukraine. We need a Marshall Plan also for Europe, if you look at the infrastructure. Therefore, we have to fight against the tax evasion to have that money for the Marshall Plan, and that is one point. Second point, colleagues, we have to be on the side of your younger generation. Also, the younger generation who is building a lot of startups and new jobs. Together with my colleague Patrizia Toia, on the way to Rome, I visited Milano. And we saw many young people who are doing research, who are doing innovation, who are creating jobs. The same is true in Greece, in Spain, in Portugal. We have that younger generation. We have to appeal to them. Don't let the younger generation either to extreme left or to the right or the conservatives. We fight for the younger generation, also for those who go into employment and for those who create new jobs. And the last point, I see my friend here from Switzerland, from the Social Democrats. I want to thank him very much that they fought against this initiative and this referendum to close the borders, more or less, between Swiss and European Union. They had a big fight, even if they lost. But I said also very clearly, it's not possible that Switzerland and the Swiss banks takes our money, who is avoiding taxes, but not our people. We have to have both. We have the money exchange, an honest money exchange, transparent, and the labor market. And therefore I come to the last point, because some of the right-wing nationalists also want to limit the common labor market and the movement of labor. This is one of the fundamentals of the European Union, the movement of labor, and we have to defend it to the last end. But we also have to combat against the social dumping, because some of the employers misuse the freedom of movement to lower the wages, to lower the social system. No, freedom of movement, common labor market in Europe, but fight against social dumping. That is, the socialists must be very strong on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannes. Fighting against social dumping, fighting against youth unemployment, but also fighting for women. So I will give the floor really for Zita for a very last word about the gender pay gap, which is one of our priorities during the campaign. Zita, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to greet a friend, Pierluigi Bersani. Thank you very much what you have done for women. Thank you so much that we have so many fantastic women in the parliament. My friends Roberta, Livia, Valeria, Rita. It is a privilege that you are with us. I'm so happy that you are here with us. Grazie mille, grazie mille. If you don't respect the past, we have no future. As you know, you need only 1 minute. I'm going to tell you 2 sentences. Let's make a deal. Let's support Martin Schulz as president for the next commission. But you all have to promise that to do the campaign, you knock at the door and you do it. But we need to send a message for women. As we agreed with the PES Women Statutory meeting yesterday. We have to make sure that the president of the parliament or the group leader has to be a woman. We have to convince 60% of the women who did not go on vote to vote for Martin. Martin, look at me, I'm talking to you. So I think it's important. Go and vote, knock at the door. And thanks for my friend who made the list with Elena, with Corina, with Kathleen. Some of our leaders understood you can't win with women the next election because we are the majority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zita. Thank you to all the panelists. We are on our way towards a new Europe with Martin Schulz. Thank you very much for the panelists. Let's change Europe. Have a good campaign to you all. All the best.